What does it really mean for an AI to think? Today, we're diving deep into Interview Angular. Standalone components, not news all. Modern Angular interviews focus on understanding component ownership of template dependencies. Importantly, providers can now be moved into application configuration. Routes can load screens without relying on feature modules, standalone components, directives, and pipes reduce the need for NgModules. This allows incremental adoption without causing breaking changes. Angular documentation highlights these benefits for developers, but here's where it gets interesting. The bottleneck was hidden dependency truth. NOG architecture improved organization but hid dependency truth behind declarations, imports, exports, and providers. Angular's Nomboster guide focuses on declaring declarables and adding providers for imported modules. That indirection becomes clear when you can't explain why a directive is available in a template. Notably, this hidden dependency makes it hard to track where components come from. Thus, understanding module boundaries is crucial for maintaining large applications. More specifically, directives and pipes may appear in templates without clear origins. Importantly, this complexity grows as the application scales and more modules are added. So, what's the real problem? Let's talk about the cause. Ownership was split. The cause is that ownership was split between components and modules. Classic Angular split one screen across two mental locations. The component file contained UI logic, while the mid decided template visibility. A template could fail because compl or a pipe was registered elsewhere. Notably, a feature directive might be declared far from the broken view. The core question shifted from which module declares this to which component imports what it renders. This raises a critical question. The breakthrough is component-first design. A standalone component collapses that split next. The @component decorator imports the exact components. Importantly, directives, pipes, and NgModules, the template can use. Thus, Angular's component guide states components are standalone by default. More specifically, older components can opt into module declaration with standalone. False Angular continues to evolve with this approach. Now let's zoom in on standalone changes. The system boundary. Standalone does not mean isolated or module hostile. It means the dependency boundary moves closer to the template. The team can read it, test it, and refactor it. Angular's team says standalone components can import not NORDA dependencies. This keeps migration practical instead of ideological. Angular blog. Here's something most people overlook. Imports become the interview map. The modern answer is not put it in some saw. Import the exact thing the template needs. Make the dependency visible at the point of use. Components, directives, pipes, and feature widgets can appear directly. NgModules can also be imported in a standalone component. Angular supports this approach for better modularity. Think about this for a second. Tooling makes explicitness bearable. Tooling makes explicitness bearable. The fear is obvious. Direct imports sound repetitive. Modern Angular answers with tooling, not magic. The Angular roadmap includes language service auto imports. This applies to components and pipes in standalone apps. It also covers Nodal-based apps. Diagnostics for unused standalone imports are included. Angular continues to improve developer experience, and this is where things get complex. Lazy loading stops waiting for modules. Lazy loading stops waiting for modules to full lazy. Loading uses nope pawns to bring in a module. Boundary standalone routing lets a route load a component directly with load component or load a route tree without requiring a lazy amble. See Angular's route. Lazy loading migration can convert eagerly loaded components. Importantly, this simplifies the loading process for standalone applications. Thus, developers can now load routes more efficiently. More specifically, no longer need to wrap components in a non-bog. Notably, this improves performance and reduces initial load time. But here's where it gets interesting. Namad still has a job. Meniga is not dead, according to the senior. Answer NgModules still matter for older code bases, help with library compatibility, and grouped exports provider. Scopes are also managed through NgModules components that are explicitly marked as standalone. False rely on modules. The Mendoge API defines declarations, imports, exports, providers, and Bootstrap. This metadata remains formal in Angular's structure. Thus, NgModules continue to play an important role in Angular applications. So, what's the real problem? Let's talk about migration as a workflow, not a rewrite. Migration is a workflow, not a rewrite. Angular treats standalone adoption as incremental. The official schematic can mark declarations as standalone. It can remove unnecessary NgModules and switch bootstrapping. Next, the schematic helps move towards standalone APIs. Importantly, large application migration removed 400 novel instances. Thus, automation plays a key role in the process. More specifically, Angular 1 documented this successful approach. Notably, Angular Space highlights the benefits of this method. This raises a critical question. The real impact is interview leverage. Standalone knowledge changes how you answer architecture questions. Next, you can explain why a component imports router outlet. Importantly, you can explain why a route uses load component. Thus, you can understand why providers move to application configuration. More specifically, you can explain why some NgModules remain. Notably, that is not trivia, it is systems thinking. Now let's zoom in on the future signal. The interview signal is no longer about remembering where declarations go next. It's about designing dependency visibility with clarity. Importantly, it's about defining lazy loading boundaries. Thus, it's about provider placement and migration strategy. More specifically, candidates who explain both systems sound senior. Notably, those who defend only Amata sound anchored to an older mental model.